All right, guys, here we go. Second coffee talk or Tuesday talk with John. Last week's was an experiment and was a great success. Thank you very much. Had overwhelmingly the comments were good. We had a couple people telling us that our apathy toward the situation was pathetic. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to be the one that jumps on the conspiracy bandwagon. And you know, from my perspective, I have more faith in my government. Even if it's not the government that I want, it's the government that I have. And some of the comments that I've seen and I have deleted were very negative toward Obama. And you love him or hate him, he's our president. He deserves the respect that comes with the office. So if you're going to post something negative against President Obama, expect it to be deleted by me, because I don't put up with that. When I first started this channel, I explained to everybody that it's a family channel. It's a conversational channel. I'm not going to be the Howard Stern of YouTube, and I'm not going to accept any kind of criticism like that. So
disagree, you know, dislike, do all that stuff, but be civil. You don't have to be uncivil.
Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to discuss for this today is no gun zones. If you live in Arizona, you probably know this. If you don't, you probably don't. We are a constitutional carry state, which means you do not have a CCW to carry concealed.
In most places.
In most places. The exceptions to the rule is if a dining establishment serves alcohol. If you don't have your CCW, you cannot enter there with a gun legally. That includes Denny's, Applebee's, stuff like that.
Any establishment that serves alcohol for consumption on the premises.
True.
Again, let me say before we talk about this, I am not a lawyer. I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So don't take anything that I say as legal advice. It's not legal advice. If you want to know what the statutes are, in Arizona at least, for carrying or misconduct involving weapons, the appropriate Arizona Revised Statute is Arizona Revised Statute Chapter 13-3102. So if you just type into your search engine ARS space 13-3102, it'll come right up, and you can read the regulations for yourself, and of course consult an attorney for any legal advice.
Absolutely. So we've got a lot more freedoms than a lot of the states have. The states that I feel sorry, and I would not. If somebody gave me a house in them, you know, $500,000 house, I'd say great, keep it. Yeah, I was in Jersey or California or Illinois or
I was in Southern California yesterday.
Washington D.C. It's ridiculous. But since the constitutional carry law went into effect about 2 years ago, I've seen a lot of signs go up. Gunbusters sign, you know, with a gun, with a circle with a red slash. I said, well, they use a Glock, usually is that sign. I don't own a Glock, so I can go into that restaurant, right? That's not my gun. My gun's prettier.
1911. It's a 1911 they put on their signs, trust me.
But they also have to have it posted correctly. Most stores post it down in the corner of the door. You know, I didn't see it. The door was being held open for me. I'm not going to lie and say that I did that. But a lot of them don't post it correctly. And they need to post it, if it's a restaurant, they need to post it at the front door and by the liquor license behind the bar. Is it only by the liquor license or is it by the front door too?
A couple things. The best in my understanding is I have several friends who are law enforcement. The standard in Arizona, which is the standard most places, is the standard of a reasonable person. Again, mea culpa, you know, disclaimer, not a lawyer. But everything that I've heard, the standard is the standard of a reasonable person. So here's my thoughts on the matter. You take them for what they're worth. I believe property rights trump gun rights. That they are private property owners. They have the right to decide who gets to come on their property. As a business owner, they get to decide who they want to shop in their store or who they want to eat at their restaurant. I am very comfortable with that. I am a supporter of that. I'm not angry about that. I know some guys are, you know, really mean and nasty, and they want to go in and give that business owner a piece of their mind. You know, I don't feel like you're really going to do a whole lot. I do have a little letter that I have sent to several businesses nearby that says, hey, I think that your thinking is a little off here. I did just notice, I don't want to drop too many names, but one of my favorite eateries that was off limits for quite some time is no longer off limits.
Really?
Yes, indeed. Again, if you're in the Phoenix area and you enjoy, shall we say, Mexican, Chinese fusion, then yes, there's a wonderful restaurant, quite famous in the area, that has removed their gunbuster sign. I don't really want to bug them about it because I don't want to make it a big deal for them. But I had a friend that wanted to eat there, and I said, well, maybe we might have to go elsewhere. Poke my head in. Sure enough, no sign. So rock and roll. I believe that the standard is a reasonable person. So here's the thing. If somebody says, I do not want you on my premises with a firearm, you come on their premises with a firearm, you're trespassing. I mean, that's what you're doing. And they, as a private property owner, get the right to decide that. Or a lessee, even. You say, well, they don't own the property. You know, they lease it from someone else. Landlord-Tenant Act. They are the controller of the property. So they have the right to decide that. Now, if you honestly didn't know, or there's reason to say, you know, I didn't really receive any kind of notice, well then, you know, there's the technical law and then there's the reality, okay? And that is that, hey, I mean, if they say they don't want your business, go take your business somewhere else. You know, I know people that have little business cards. They're the no guns, no business cards, and those are fine if you want to do that. You want to be a political activist. I have occasionally, you know, interacted with somebody who I knew and said I don't think that was a good idea, or said, hey, I'd like to do business with you, but I can't anymore, and I respect that right, and I'd like to bring business your way, but I can't, you know.
There's a lot of people that ask me that, you know, one of my favorite places to eat is Applebee's. I love their Bourbon Street steak. They're posted, and they're posted legally. I mean, by the bar and by the front door. And they say, well, why don't you just get it to go? Because I'm still supporting that business financially. I'm still giving them money, even though I'm not eating in their restaurant. And there's enough places in this city to eat that are the same type of food without a gunbuster sign.
And again, not an attorney, okay? I am authorized, you know, again, even as an NRA instructor, you're not allowed to talk about legal stuff. I am certified to teach armed guard classes in the state of Arizona as well, so I can kind of, under those auspices, have to talk about legal stuff for those classes. And if I understand it correctly, different statute for carrying in an establishment that serves alcohol for consumption. Again, usually misconduct involving weapons is ARS 13-3102. However, the restaurant carry provision is ARS 4-229. So that would be another one that you would want to look up. And I believe, if I've read it correctly, that anything else is a trespass, right? I mean, if you go into a retailer here in town who has a sign posted, no weapons allowed, hey, that's great. Really, the reality of most of what would happen, if they saw you carrying a weapon and they said, hey, you're not allowed to have a gun in here, get out of here, you could say, oh, my bad, and get out. Or if they just called the cops on you and the cops were like, hey, you're not allowed to have a firearm here, oh, sorry about that, I'm just leaving, you know, you've been trespassed off the property, that's the most that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, they're gonna walk you to the door or kick you out.
Unless you get belligerent. Let me tell you what, if you're carrying a gun, you get belligerent with a cop, you're going to get a shiny pair of bracelets and, you know, a place to sleep tonight. Don't do that. That's stupid, right? I have found that, again, your state, your jurisdiction may vary. I live in the greater Phoenix metro area, and the law enforcement officers that I know, that I've come into contact with, there's guns everywhere in Arizona, so they don't care, you know. I've told many police officers, hey, officer, I don't know if you're comfortable with that, but I'm armed. Most 90% of the time I hear, hey, don't point it at me. No big deal. But I believe restaurants under ARS 4-229 is different. It is a criminal offense if they are posted correctly for you to carry. There's a very particular sign that they have to post. It has to be, you know, sizing and all this stuff. Basically, they print it off, or the liquor control board will send them a sign, and it's a full-page sheet that they must post next to their liquor license. So they have their liquor license in the state of Arizona, and then they have to post that next to it. If they post it next to their liquor license, in my understanding, that is a legally binding sign, and you are committing a criminal offense being there.
Real good way to lose your CCW license.
If they don't, yeah, and don't do that. That's stupid, okay? We don't need those statistics in Arizona. And if they don't have a sign, always remember, it is still illegal in the state of Arizona if you carry a firearm into an establishment that serves alcohol for consumption. Even if you have a permit, you are not allowed to consume alcohol while you are on the premises of an establishment licensed to serve alcohol. You can, under Arizona law, again as I understand it, you can sit in your house, have a gun on your hip, and have a beer. That is not illegal. Might be stupid, but it's not illegal. It is illegal to consume alcohol in an establishment that serves for consumption on the premises in Arizona, even with a permit, even if the place does not have a posted sign. You know, one of the things that I love is I believe that the statistics say that CCW holders in the nation are the most law-abiding people of our nation. They commit fewer crimes statistically than cops do. So goodness sakes, when you accept the responsibility, you say, listen, I'm going to carry a firearm for self-defense, or I even think, if I'm going to study martial arts, or I'm going to take on armed combatives of another kind, or, I'm going to take my self-defense seriously, then that means I take care of others as well, and I become a law-abiding citizen. I'm a force for good and not for evil. I don't know, did you see the video that I posted today on the ASP page?
I have not.
I'm telling you, if you go there, I posted it today, and it's kind of making its rounds. So it's
I'll put the link below the video.
Yeah, it's not anything new to me, but the reports vary. One of them is says he's 71, one says he's 64, in an internet cafe with his wife, hanging out, doing their thing. He's got his back to the door. Everybody, it's a pretty big cafe. Two bad guys come in with hoods on. One is carrying a bat, the other one's carrying a gun. Yeah, and they come in pushing people around and start demanding money and valuables and stuff like that. The bat-wielding thug bashes a computer screen in. Now, the gun-wielding thug comes around and he points, he's pointing at everybody he sees. He's pointing whatever it is he's carrying. I couldn't make it out in the surveillance video. But whatever the case may be, that guy that was sitting back in the corner was a CCW holder and was armed with a .380 of one kind or another. Couldn't tell what it was. Made a killer tactical decision, great tactical decision, because I think a lot of us would have, the second they see the gun, engaged with him. He waited. He waited until that bad guy with the gun turned around and was dealing with someone else and didn't have any peripheral vision. Drew and advanced on him and put a bunch of holes in him. And drove both bad guys out of the store. Both of them ended up having to get treated at the local hospital for gunshot wounds. And so, I feel like, hey, who could have gotten hurt that day if that guy wasn't there and wasn't ready and he wasn't following the law? So this guy was, and he did a great job, and I think those are the kind of stories we need to hear. We don't need to hear about Yahoo so-and-so lost his CCW because he wouldn't leave Applebee's open carrying his, Deagle, because it was his constitutional right.
And we get that a lot in Arizona. We get a lot of people giving us a bad name. For the most part in Arizona, we see the gunbuster sign, no guns allowed. Then we see signs like on Bash's, a grocery chain here, no guns allowed except for CCW holders. So they're saying, okay, you've taken a class, you know a little bit more than, John Doe does. You can come in here because we trust you more than we do John Doe that just is carrying because he's legally allowed to. But there's only one reason I won't shop at a place that's got a gunbuster sign, or I will not give money to a place. Because that's basically telling the bad guys that nobody in there can defend themselves with a gun. They're telling all the bad guys, and it's statistically proven. I don't have the statistics. I can't annotate them here. But it's proven that establishments that have a gunbuster sign are more often to be hit than not. And you guys heard my story about my friend who owns a tobacco shop that got robbed last fall. He said he never thought to carry open on his hip. And now he does, and so does everybody else in the chain of tobacco shops that he owns. They've not had a problem since then.
Well, and I also look at it and say, I'll give you, for instance, I'm an electronics geek. There are two kind of humongo national electronics chains in the area, right? Both of which are very near my house. And one of which posts a no firearms sign. And the other one doesn't. And don't need to drop names or whatever. But I recognize and say, wait a minute, I'm going to buy my piece of electronics from one of you. Or I could get it online, I recognize that. But if I want to handle items or see what's out there or whatever, well, who am I going to go to? I can either go to this other major retailer and try to argue with the manager who's going to throw up his hands and say, hey, not my policy, I don't have anything to do with it, or whatever. Or I just go to the other place. And I just say, hey, I respect your rights. That's your right to do. No problem.
I actually talked to a franchisee owner a couple weeks ago, and I told him, I said, I love your food that you serve here, but like I said, I will not shop here because of your gunbuster sign. Nope. He says, I carry too, and I'm a Second Amendment. I'm an NRA member for life. And he says, but I own this franchise, and it says I've got to hang that sign. I said, does it? I said, does it say you have to hang the sign on the front door 4 feet above the ground within eye level? Or does it say that you have to have it posted? He says, yeah, it's supposed to have it posted. I said, so post it upside down, backwards, behind your desk and filing cabinet in your office.
In the bathroom, yeah.
It's posted.
Yeah, well,
so, he's not going to
you don't want to get in trouble with your franchise.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a fan of follow the laws in your jurisdiction, respect people's rights. I'm not going to, go somewhere and carry somewhere that they won't do that. Now, I will also say that ignorance is bliss when that's concerned. That's why we have concealed carry.
Yeah,
I know I have friends,
concealed.
I have friends who are open carry advocates, and I've open carried occasionally myself. It's not my normal thing. But, for me, if there's no sign up and nobody needs to know until a bad guy needs confronting. And so I still make a big deal out of it. Sometimes I feel like people get their entire persona wrapped around one issue.
Right.
Whether that's firearms, Ford versus Chevy, Calvinist or Arminian, for gracious sakes, Republican or Democrat. Instead, I look at it like a tool. It's a force multiplier, I mean, just like I've owned Fords and Chevys, I don't care about anything else. It's just a tool that goes everywhere with me. My tool of choice happens to be Glock 19, and guess what? I don't look at it with nostalgia. I don't look at it with, oh, it's so cool. It's like a hammer. You don't look at a hammer and go, oh, it's cool. And I don't show my hammer off to people. Do you see how cool my hammer is? It is my constitutional right to carry this hammer with me wherever I go. To me, it's just a tool. And
last time I open carried, I was at Einstein Brothers Bagel that morning, and I was open carrying, and the guy behind the counter said, "Ooh," he said, "Are you a cop?" I said, "No, it's okay, but I'm a good guy. It's okay." He said, "That's a pretty gun," because I was carrying my Kimber Pro Carry 2 at the time. I said, "Thanks," and all of a sudden that brought attention to me for everybody else that was in line, and I could tell who was okay, and I could tell who was not comfortable because they were like, scared. And I just went about my business. You cannot swing a dead cat in a Walmart in this state and not see at least 2 or 3 guns, either concealed carry with some the clips on the belt or open carry. That's just Arizona. It's so common here to see guns that it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But, it drives me a little crazy when I see a guy walking into Walmart with his pants around his knees and an Uncle Mike's Phobos holster laying there, with a Glock in it. You're not being responsible.
Or like a high point.
Yeah, you're not being responsible. You're not,
Well,
that's why I kind of wish we didn't have constitutional carry, so people would have to get a little bit more educated on that part.
I like constitutional carry personally. It's fine for me. I just think about it and I look at it and I say, listen, that old Marine Corps adage, be polite, be professional, and have a plan to kill everyone you meet. Now, okay, mea culpa. My profession, we're sitting here in my office, I'm a pastor. So I'm not, that's a little hardcore for me. But what I mean by that is that my primary mission in life is not to be that guy, not to be aggressive, not to be confrontational. I love, again, Gabe Suarez or Jeff Cooper, that the armed life is a life of constant de-escalation, evasion, and escape. It's constantly trying to get away from a conflict rather than get into one. And so if you dress professionally and if you're kind to everyone you meet, then you'll never probably need your gun. And isn't that a beautiful thing? Isn't that what you want? It's for the times that you weren't expecting it and then you need it. It's the same thing. Hopefully, if you're driving defensively and you know what you're doing on the road, you probably never need your seatbelt. But I tell you, the day I got rear-ended by a drunk driver that I didn't see coming, I was sure glad I was wearing my seatbelt. Might have saved my life. So certainly saved me from major injury, if nothing else. So that's the way I look at it. And how did we get here?
In the next video, I think it's going to be the next video, unless I throw a Dave on the fly up. We're going to talk about situational awareness. You're all carrying guns that I'm assuming, watching my channel, or you are considering carrying a gun. Learning what the situational awareness is and how aware you are of your surroundings. Are you alert? Are you not alert? Are you alarmed? It's part of our concealed carry course that we teach through the NRA, and it's amazing how unaware people are. Here's an experiment before that video gets up. Whoever goes out to dinner between me and tomorrow or the next day, depending on when I get this video up, post in the comments to either this video or the next video what color your waiters or waitresses' eyes were. I bet you don't know, because you're like, you got your phone, yeah, I want the hamburger with onions and tomato. You got to be aware of your surroundings, guys, because if you're not and something goes down, you may miss it.
Well, and you don't have to be hyper vigilant, but paying attention to what's going on around you. there's lots of games you can play for situational awareness. We talk about that another day.
Right. We're gonna wrap this up here because I don't want it to get too late. One thing I'm gonna say is, as you guys know, John's a pastor. That's his calling in life, and some people have been asking me about his viewpoint about carrying a gun from a Christian point of view, and we're gonna put a link below the video for his written declaration about that.
I put up on my blog a 4-part series about Christianity and self-defense.
So it's really great, and it explains a lot. So that'll be underneath. That link will be under this video, and please post comments and click like to the video very much. And thank you very much.
Yeah.
So.
And please, again, if you go watch the other one about the arms, the small arms treaty, please stop freaking out. It's not the end of the known universe.
A whole lot has to happen before it affects us.
Well, and doing a little bit of research before you go on that, Reed versus Colbert is a 1957 Supreme Court decision that says that the Constitution has precedence over any international treaty, any treaty, period. And so, even if there is a treaty in place between the United States and another nation, the Supreme Court has firmly established that the Constitution takes precedence. Also, 2 weeks ago, President Obama got a letter from 130 Congress people stating here are some things they would like to see or demand to see in any resolution that they would think about passing. Remember, any treaty that affects the United States has to be ratified by 2/3 of Congress. And so you ain't going to get 2/3, with 130 people not willing to do that. And even the State Department has come out and said, listen, any treaty that we would ratify or any treaty that we would sign off on from the small arms, the ATT, must respect the Second Amendment, individual right to keep and bear arms, sovereignty of states, civilian ownership of firearms and ammunition. So, and they haven't even drafted anything yet. It hasn't even come out. Right now it's just blah, blah, politicians, blah, blah, blah. Should we watch politicians? You bet. Should we freak out about it? I don't know. I get accused of being a tinfoil hat wearer sometimes, but I don't feel like I am. I feel like, again, it's fear-mongering at this point, in my opinion, because it says we've got to have some reason to freak everybody out. We've got to have some reason to keep our voter base and our money coming in. We've won, guys. We've won. Now, there's still some mop-up work to do, and there's still some things that need to get done. I feel for the people of Illinois who have no right. I don't think May issue is good. So there's many states that are May issue states. I would love to see national reciprocity.
I would too. Do I think it's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 years?
Not a way.
No.
Not a chance. The only way it could happen is if Dave's phone rings.
It always happens.
The only way it could happen. You know what we do in the Android world? We just turn the ringer off. But if you're an iPhone user, you just can't do that, evidently.
I hit you across your head before you get your gun out.
But do I think it could happen? It could, if Romney holds to his idea, having spoken to the NRA convention, that he believes in it, and if the Republicans take the Senate. Now, those are two big ifs. Then it's conceivable. Is it likely? I doubt it. But it's conceivable. I will say, just like what my thoughts are, is that in Arizona, here a few years ago, I think it was 2009 or 2010, we changed the law to allow CCW holders to carry concealed in establishments that serve alcohol. And the people who were against that freaked out. Oh man, there's going to be bloodbaths at every Applebee's in America. The deafening silence from that not happening has been pretty intense. Mm-hmm. There have been, since then, a couple of, and I've paid very close attention to the news stories, a couple of shootings in parking lots, but that's after people go to their car. And guess what? Without the law, they go to their car and get the gun anyways. Then when we enacted constitutional carry, it's going to be the OK Corral. The whole world's going to end. Everybody's going to be blood flowing on the highway. The deafening silence has been intense. Really, the only difference is that if somebody gets arrested for another crime, they don't have a gun crime to go with it. They don't have didn't have a permit to carry a concealed firearm. That's it. Still a felony to commit a felony. So, no big deal. So I think if we get national reciprocity, everybody, we're all going to die. People from, Florida are going to be carrying guns. In New Jersey, we're all going to die.
Guess what? They're already carrying guns. Now they're just going to do it legally.
And it won't happen. And guess what had happened? I'll tell you what happened. I drove yesterday. My wife and I, you still have to follow all local jurisdiction, and all laws. So my wife and I drove yesterday to go see our daughter in California and back. So I was forced to be unarmed. Well, I was forced to not carry a force multiplier like a firearm with me. I'm never unarmed. And if national reciprocity shows up, guess what would happen? I would get to carry a gun that's California legal, that has all the California things, which my Glock 19 would not. But, you know, drive to Oceanside, watch my daughter drive home, and nobody would have died that whole day. It would have been amazing.
And my gun hasn't killed anybody yet, ever.
Man, I've killed a lot of paper, though.
we have killed a lot of paper and steel. We're running real long, guys. I apologize for this.
Sorry.
Hopefully you like this. One other question that people were asking was, what is your opinion of guns on campus? And I will tell people, or, you know, John has a lot of opinion on guns on campus because...
Well, I teach.
He's a professor. He's also a professor at a college for a Christian Bible college.
Yeah, 3/4 time there. So I'm there quite a bit. And, as a matter of fact, I just had this discussion with a guy who is in a decision-making role on a college campus. And, you know, my thought is this, and what I suggested to him is what I'd suggest to anybody. Obviously, to conceal a firearm in the state of Arizona, you have to be 21. So all those kids that are freshmen and sophomores and juniors, for the most part, can't do it anyways. Okay? My suggestion to him was to say, hey, listen, I think, personally, the storage of firearms in dorms where there's a lot of stupid kids around who are underage, I wouldn't suggest that. And so that was what I told him to that. I see too many situations there that could lead to problems. However, for your 21-year-old and up students, my suggestion is make them get a permit. If they got a CCW permit, they've seen some training, they know what they're doing with a gun, they've had a background check, they're good. They're the most lawful citizens around. And then just, you know, draft up something that says, listen, if we're going to let you carry a firearm on campus, then here's what you agree to do in return. Concealed means concealed. You're not authorized to use it, except to defend your own life. I would say the life of others as well. You know, Good Samaritan laws being what they are. We don't want to hear about it. We don't want to see it. We don't want to talk about it. And, you know, if we are worried about that or we sense any problems in your character or any problems of behavior, we'll yank the privilege. You know, of course, Oikos University in Oakland, you know, shootings in this last year, people dying. Of course, Virginia Tech is the terrible one.
We're very close in Arizona that, you know, they've tried to pass the campus carry bill a couple of times. The language in it was awful.
No, but it's not illegal to carry on campus in Arizona.
If you live in Arizona, listen to this because this is probably something you didn't even know.
It's not illegal, okay? If you go to Arizona Revised Statutes 13-3102, a school in Arizona, it is illegal to carry on a school campus, but a school is defined as any public or private preschool, primary school, or secondary school. Colleges and universities do not fall under that. It is not a misconduct involving weapons to carry a firearm on a college campus. However, the Arizona Board of Regents, who is in charge of all of the public universities in Arizona, has a strict no firearms policy. That is a policy, not a law. So, it's not okay to carry on the campus of Arizona State or University of Arizona, NAU, community college campuses, because that's their policy. They're private owners. They can do that if they want. What the law was designed to do is say they couldn't do that for CCW holders. Am I a fan of that? Not really. Again, if that's what they want that to be their policy, then fine. They can do that their policy, and that'll determine their clientele. That'll determine who decides to, you know, at least in some respects, who decides to go there.
Consider it like ASU, U of A, NAU, Maricopa County Community Colleges. They put a gunbuster sign up. That's what they've done. That's their policy. It's not the law. But
it is, because if you violate their policy, then you're trespassing. You know, they have the right to control who's on their campus. And obviously recognize that the subject of guns and universities is very touchy. Mm-hmm. Not just with Virginia Tech. I mean, we go way back, and obviously this is a big deal. And one we need to approach with sensitivity, knowing that people have lost their lives in these kind of incidents. So, you know, I'm a fan. Trust the trustworthy. And if somebody is over 21, they've proven their competency, they've proven that they're safe, they've proven that they're not a criminal, and they desire, they've taken some training, they know what they're doing, then by all means, knock yourself out. just leave it. I don't want to see it, and I don't want and I gotta say, the men and women who I know who carry, that's what they do. They're safe. They know what to do with their guns.
And they are aware too. That's what we're going to talk about next time, is situational awareness. And this is not being sexist. And this is, I looked at the statistics before I came out today, and it is statistically shown that women are less aware of their surroundings than men. And that's...
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I read it up on one of the websites. I'll send you the form.
If it says it on the internet, it must be true.
It's got to be true. Got to be true. But I know that my daughter is aware because she's taken my NRA class. I know my neighbor, both my neighbor and her husband, are absolutely oblivious to anything around them. I mean, you could be, walk into their house, walk in front of them, take the TV that they're watching, and walk out the door, and they'll still be staring at the wall. I do not like to sit in a restaurant if I'm not facing the door. When John and I go to lunch, that's fun because we both want to face the door.
It's like musical chairs. Trying to get somebody who wants
see who's gonna be. But five guys.
I'm a better shot, so I get to watch.
Five guys in places like that, they have two doors, so we're both covered.
Yeah, right.
But stay tuned for that video. It'll be coming up in the next week or so.
Good.
And as I always say, guys, at the end of my videos, and it's very important, stay safe and train. Work on your dry firing exercises at night in your bedroom. And we will meet with John again next week. Put your comments and questions in the forum below. I will be putting a couple links to check them out. John's his dialogue or his
the Christianity and self-defense stuff. Mm-hmm.
His view on Christianity and self-defense, and some other things. So cool. Check it out, and we'll see you guys very soon. Thanks a lot.
Shalom Aleichem.
Stay safe and train.